Now, this was a scene you likely did not see on one of your local or national newscasts. The White House announcing a bold plan to change the lives in America of some of our poorest citizens, those who live in the most distressed and sometimes the most dangerous neighborhoods. Flanked by Senator Tim Scott and BET founder Bob Johnson, with Van Jones looking on, you see him there, the president signed an executive order creating something called the Opportunity and Revitalization Council. Now, if you think this is just kind of another brick in the bureaucracy here in D.C., signifying nothing, think again. Led by HUD Secretary Ben Carson, it will coordinate efforts across the entire federal government to deliver jobs, investment, and growth in underprivileged areas. By the way, it includes rural areas, too. Now, this means more private sector money will flow into some of these high-risk areas or low development areas. And what will that do? In turn, that will deliver jobs.
This is a great thing. Thank you.
Mr. President, Mr. President, in reaction to Michael Cohen's presidency,
Of course, you heard that. The few reporters who were actually on hand there, they weren't interested in the substance of this undertaking. All they were interested in is shouting questions out about Cohen. And unlike most White House events starring Trump, it was not broadcast on cable or on C-SPAN or any of the networks. I wonder why. I'll tell you why. Because Trump is delivering results for those who Democrats thought that they had forever co-opted politically. It's all kind of, it all smashes the press's relentless drumbeat about how the president just doesn't like black people.
What more do we need to see or hear from this racist man? Here we have a president who has once again said racist and despicable words about African Americans, people of color.
All of the policy that he's put forward has been anti-people of color. He has continued policies that I believe are racist in nature.
The President of the United States is racist. A lot of us already knew that.
The president seems to harbor racist feelings about people of color.
It's just despicable. Every time I watch those, I'm like, I don't even want to play them anymore. Media mogul Bob Johnson, one of the most prominent and most successful African Americans probably on the planet, obviously begged to disagree with that montage. He was on hand to recognize the administration's drive and commitment to help low-income Americans.
Just recently, your Department of Labor signed a historic document that created something called auto portability. Auto portability is designed to reduce retirement leakage among low-income 401k account holders who tend to cash out. And, Mr. President, you should know this, 60% of African American and Hispanic Americans cash out of their 401k account. This program will put close to $800 billion back in the retirement pockets of minority Americans. So I just want to applaud you for that.
Okay, no coverage. I had to play that just because no one saw it. Now, you see, there are a lot of politicians out there, though, who traffic in bromides, shining with the veneer of real compassion.
Hope is the insistence that no matter how tough our circumstances, there are better days ahead. If we persist, despite all of our individual failings and all of our inadequacies, together we can overcome.
Oh, that's nice. I guess that's Nobel Prize material. But the problem is, talking about hope, it's beautiful, but it won't bring business into your community. People who can get jobs tend to have more hope. Despair and crime in places like Chicago and Baltimore spiraled out of control during much of Obama's 8 years. But I know what you're going to say, but Laura, Obama and the Democrats care more than Donald Trump. Look, you can see it, you can feel it, they care. Then they're going to bring up Charlottesville and the S-hole comment that Trump made to then drive their points home. Okay, even if for the sake of argument, I concede those points. Maybe the tonality, the wording, maybe wouldn't have done that way, fine. But I ask the following. Who cares more about America, and particularly the working poor? The guy who delivers results, record low unemployment, opportunity zones, and decent chance for criminal justice reform? Or a party that is all talk and no action? I'll take the former any day. Oh, and by the way, the press did find one angle on the opportunity zone that they thought this part of the story was worth covering. Jared and Trump himself are only pushing these intercity investment incentives because they'll make money off their own real estate holdings. Please. Secretary Ben Carson came on my radio show yesterday, and he swatted this whole thing away.
The zones were picked by the governors. They were not picked by Jared Kushner. There are all kinds of people in the country who already have real estate in those zones. Will they benefit? Probably. Why shouldn't they benefit? Why shouldn't everybody benefit? You know, why shouldn't we create win-win situations?
I want to see more of Ben Carson out there, by the way. I loved what he had to say. And once again, the media proves itself to be absolutely incapable of covering virtually anything about the work the president does to try to restore our country. Not even an inkling of objectivity. And he didn't do this, by the way, to benefit just a few of his pals or the people who voted for him, but he's doing this to try to benefit those who have been served so poorly by politicians of both parties for decades. But I'm telling you, despite everything that's swirling around him, the Democrats' obsession with impeachment, the indictments, et cetera, the president continues to do work that other presidents wouldn't do. And poor working-class Americans will be better for it. And that's the angle.